Welcome back to the Star Trek Critic, where we treat each episode as a school project, starting with 100 points and take points away for each plot hole, plot device, set error, stardate mismatch, and anything else I can think of. Today's episode, Return to Tomorrow. The crew comes upon a planet that had its atmosphere totally ripped away, but they are still getting a signal by some very powerful life forms. Now that they're close enough for Sargon to speak to them, the first thing he does is make a "that's what she said" comment. And Sargon's been waiting to say that for 500,000 years. Normally I take points away for the captain's log talking down to the audience, but this time he asks Uhura how long it will take his message to reach Starfleet. So he's covering this little plot device by pretending he's sending a message. Sargon is asking the Enterprise crew for help. The first point is lost since Spock uses miles instead of kilometers. He's not even from Earth. Why would he be saying miles? Do you think his sister told him to say that? This is also the one time Kirk tells Spock he can't go. Usually they both go down together, but they really shouldn't, and Kirk actually says we can't risk both being off the ship. But they break that rule all the time. This is the one time Kirk follows this rule, but Sargon intervenes this time. He wants Spock to go up to the surface, so they both go. The next point is lost since there's only one set of doors on the turbolift and no cut in the carpet, showing you that this is not a real elevator.
It's an elevator. It's a walk-elevator.
The next point is lost since Kirk has no idea who Dr. Mulhall is. He is the captain of the ship. He should know who everyone is when they are on such deep space missions, especially if he might be taken over by an alien and make out with her later. This is actually a recurring problem with Kirk not knowing who's on his crew. Spock again says miles, and it throws Dr. McCoy off, since he was raised on the metric system. Not only is McCoy concerned about beaming into solid rock, Scotty is too, since the coordinates were fed straight to the computer from Sargon. He has no control over it. This is foreshadowing for what comes next. Kirk performs the Picard maneuver. Ironically, this is one of the few times Kirk has security go with him like he's supposed to, and they're left behind. The only previous time the transporter left people behind was in the cage, and the transporter then was also controlled by an alien. It's a good thing though that the security guards didn't come down, or they would have materialized into the walls. The next point is lost here. Why is Kirk asking only about one security guard when he knows there were two? He really doesn't know his crew that well, does he? This is almost a good "that's what she said" phrase. Unfortunately, they barely touch on the backstory. I'm sure the writers would have loved to make the show all about this catastrophe. Lucky for them, the machinery still works after all those years, since it can still pump in fresh air. McCoy looks a little sleepy though. The doors open up to reveal Sargon. There he is, blinking in and out. For surviving such a disaster, you'd think he would be on a pedestal that was earthquake-proof. One little shake and he's going to fall off and break open. Sargon now talks about how their ancestors used to travel the stars and colonize. Ironically, Dr. Mulhall says Earth evolved independently, but Spock says it could match some of Vulcan's ancient history. Then Sargon tells about Adam and Eve, but not a similar Vulcan myth. It's possible he got the Adam and Eve story from reading their minds or tapping the computer, so he should have been able to find a Vulcan myth, but he didn't, so -1 point. Sargon mentions that his planet managed to get past the nuclear age, but then warned of the next disaster. And these three are like, oh shit, we're in trouble now. Sargon talks about how his race started to think of themselves as gods, which resulted in their atmosphere getting ripped away. Evolving into a godlike being is actually a part of Mormon mythology, that the human race is on a long, slow evolution into a superior being. And if you're a good Mormon, there is a shortcut. This was presented in the original Battlestar Galactica, with the Ship of Lights chasing down Count Iblis, and Adama was able to move something with his mind. The biggest issue of becoming a superior being was that you mess up everyone's internet. Sargon taking over Kirk's body gives William Shatner a chance to show off his overacting skills. Looks like he's holding in a big fart. Now it looks like he just let it out. What a relief. -1 point here for McCoy measuring temperature in Fahrenheit. If that was Celsius, Kirk would be boiling right now. It looks like a crate of Christmas lights on the wall. The first thing Spock thinks when he walks into the room is, oh look, Horta eggs, all lined up in cartons. Sargon talks about how powerful they were, but if they could create this chamber, they should have also been able to create a robot construction facility as well, so something else must have happened during that time, but we will never find out. Did anyone create a spaceship to leave the planet? We won't find that out either. They also didn't have any radio technology to look for help. Only Sargon's mind was used. They must have really torn up their society. Sargon talks like a creepy old man. Now Sargon asks for the rent-a-body deal. And I'm going to have to take a point here for the plot device. Those three are perfectly capable of basic mind control to let the engineer's fingers build the androids that they have in mind. But they want to take over the whole body, and that's just a bad idea. I would say the exchange back gives William Shatner another chance to overact again, but none of us have ever been taken over by an alien, so we really don't know what it feels like, which means we can't judge. From what he says here, it sounds like an acid trip. McCoy is slightly concerned. Scotty's like, did he just say what I think he said? The next point is lost, since in this discussion they don't consider taking the spheres to the two android planets they've come upon. Most notably, the planet featured in I, Mud, where the androids actually offer to Uhura a mind transfer into an android body. The rest of this conversation is perfect Trek ideology about exploration of the unknown, and everyone should watch the show. And tell CBS I sent you so they will be more lenient on copyright claims. In a nutshell, they are concerned about the dangers, but Kirk explains, this is why we are out here, and they go with a plan. Here goes the mind transfer. All it takes is special lighting and eerie music. Today, it would take hundreds of computer programmers and CGI technology and millions of dollars just to do the same thing. Hinnock likes to hum, and he's a dirty old man. Thalassa is happy to breathe in and out again, and it looks like she and Sargon want to make up for 500,000 years of lost time. Nurse Chapel is, oh, how sweet, but Hinnock isn't happy at all. Spock is going to be pissed when he hears that line, but they are a little boozy and now have to transfer back, except for Hinnock, who is going to be a little shit real soon. The next point is lost, since McCoy's log is there to talk down to the audience, since they think we forgot what happened over the commercials. Hinnock is quick to get his plan in motion. His goal is to kill Sargon while inside Kirk's body and have Nurse Chapel do it for him. This is a 1960s way of saying they need to get a room. Hinnock's goal is to stay inside the living bodies, but they would still die eventually and have to get new bodies over and over again. McCoy notices something is up, but Nurse Chapel still isn't clear of that brain cloud. This is the weirdest looking android. They could have made a better one. So is Scotty interested in the android, or is he just trying to make his move on Thalassa? Hinnock is rude to Scotty and is now laughing in Spock's body. And this is why Scotty's look says, Hinnock, you're an asshole. Is Hinnock checking out her butt? And she's like, were you just looking at my butt? Hinnock is convinced he can win her over in staying inside the human bodies. Sargon is feeling a little woozy again. Thalassa comes over to make out, but she's too much of a sexual dynamo for him and she knocks him out. Don't worry ladies, if you can do this to a guy, it's actually a good thing. Yes! This time he can't say he's dead Jim because Jim is dead. Aww. He's got a valid question here. Kirk's body is dead, but is Sargon dead? And what about Kirk's mind inside the receptacle? They're going to keep him on life support for as long as they can. Let's go to Hinnock now. This is a weird thing to say. Hinnock wants to wait until she is in the android's body to add female features. That means he really wants to feel her up. But it does have that effect of her wanting to stay in a human body. Thalassa tries to make a deal with McCoy. She keeps the body in exchange for Kirk living. McCoy says, hell no. Then she goes on a power trip. Now it's Leonard Nimoy's turn to overact. By this line, it looks like these two are going to get it on soon. Sargon's ghost is still around though, and he comes up with a plan. Nurse Chapel comes in, and they tell McCoy to exit because they want to do some girl talk. Here come the explosions, and McCoy is thinking, wow, I'm missing out on a serious cat fight. McCoy calls for security, then Nurse Chapel storms out victorious, and he's like, wow, Christine, I didn't know you had it in you. And now he discovers Kirk is alive again. But it came at a price, and Spock is now gone without getting to transfer his Katra to anyone. So now we won't be able to make that movie, Star Trek III, The Search for Spock. Dr. Mulhall has pouty lips because she can no longer make out with Jim Kirk. Not only was Spock's consciousness destroyed, they now have to kill his body. Hinnock really doesn't know how to make friends, does he? Is this the only time we see Sulu? Hinnock knows the best way to control a human is to give them really bad indigestion. Of course, this isn't completely true because Sargon is there, but he doesn't know it. So Hinnock is in Spock's body, Spock's mind is in Nurse Chapel's body, Sargon and Thalassa are spirits, Kirk and Dr. Mulhall have stomach cramps, and McCoy thinks Spock is dead and has created a Vulcan poison. I think I got it all. And look at this, Hinnock killed Sargon, and now he's begging for forgiveness. Can you believe that? And look at this, he even begs for a sex change. Spock is dead, but some fancy lights and some eerie music puts everything back in order and they're all happy again. Hinnock was tricked, and now we learn the big secret. Of course, we all know Nurse Chapel wants more than just his consciousness in her, but this is a family show after all. Sargon makes one last request for some tongue action with Thalassa. And she's like, oh good, I'll just be another notch in his chair. Of course, Kirk's like, hell yeah, one more notch in my chair. They get mushy, they play esophagus probe, and everybody watches. And Nurse Chapel's eyeing Spock because she wants her turn. And Dr. Mulhall is thinking, oh shit, I'll have to come back later and do this with Picard and Riker too. It was beautiful, wasn't it? So, who were these beings on this planet? James Doohan did the voice of Sargon. The nurse was played by Cindy Lou. Diana Muldaur played Dr. Anne Mulhall. We will see her again on Star Trek next year and as Dr. Pulaski in The Next Generation for an entire season. Return to Tomorrow, a show about a civilization that tried to become gods and failed, gets a whopping score of 91%. That's all for now, thanks for viewing. Be sure to check out my other videos and playlists and click that like button, the share button, and that subscribe button, and I'll see you again soon.